It's still kind of amazing just how fast generative AI exploded onto the scene.
Oh, absolutely. Things like ChatGPT, Midjourney,
Hmm.
they went from niche to, well, practically household names overnight.
Right. And that initial buzz, the excitement around generating texts, images, code,
Hmm.
it was infectious.
It really was. And the idea of having this like always-on assistant for brainstorming or just, everyday stuff, that felt huge.
But then reality started to bite a little, didn't it? As we used them more.
Yeah, that initial wow factor sometimes gives way to frustration.
Exactly. You ask what seems like a simple question in the chat box, and the answer you get back is, well, sometimes it's a bit off. Or just not quite what you were aiming for.
Feeling of almost, but not really. It's pretty common.
And it's tempting to just blame the AI, right?
Yeah.
To say, oh, it's not smart enough yet.
It is tempting, but that's not the whole story. A huge part of it, and what we're really going to dig into today, is how we communicate with the AI. It's about the prompts.
So it's not just the AI's brain, it's how we talk to it.
Precisely. And that's where this idea of structured user interfaces, or UIs, comes in. It's about moving beyond that totally free-form chat.
Okay, so structured UIs, what exactly are we talking about there?
Think about things like specific text boxes where you have to put in keywords, or drop-down menu select boxes where you pick a category.
Right, or checkboxes for features, maybe radio buttons for a price range, things we see on websites all the time.
Exactly those kinds of elements. They aren't just for show, they actively guide you, the user, to give the AI more specific, more useful information.
Gotcha. So the mission for this deep dive is basically to see how designing a better UI can act like a translator or maybe a guide for the AI.
That's a great way to put it. A guide, helping it understand what you actually want so it gives you more accurate, more consistent answers.
Regardless of whether you're someone who writes an essay for a prompt or just types 2 words.
Exactly. Making it work better for everyone.
Okay, let's start with the problem then. Why is that open-ended chat sometimes so just for minds unreliable, hit or miss?
Well, it comes down to human variability, really. We all ask questions differently, don't we?
Totally. Some people are super detailed.
Right. They give you paragraphs of context. Others are really brief, just a few keywords, maybe even ambiguous ones.
And the AI has to deal with that whole spectrum.
It does. It gets this incredibly scattered, inconsistent stream of inputs. And if the input is all over the place,
then the output is going to be all over the place too.
yeah.
Makes sense. You get incomplete answers or irrelevant ones.
Or just stuff that's too general to be useful. The AI is basically guessing more often when the prompt is vague.
So structured UIs step in to fix that vagueness.
They do. They act as a channel, or like you said, a guide for the user's input.
It's not like the AI itself gets smarter overnight, right?
Not its core model, no. But the UI filters and shapes the information before it even gets to the AI.
Can you give an analogy?
Sure, think about online shopping. You could just type nice shoes into a search bar. You'll get thousands of results, maybe none are right. But if you use the filters, size, color, brand, style, maybe heel height, you're structuring your request. You're telling the site exactly what you need.
I see. So the structured UI does that for the AI prompt. It forces you to be more specific through these elements.
Exactly. It translates your need into a format the AI can understand much more easily. You're essentially co-creating a better prompt with the UI.
And the benefits of doing that are?
Well, the most obvious one is you get much more precise and relevant answers from the AI if it knows exactly what you're asking for.
It's way more likely to give you that specific thing.
And consistency goes way up, too, if different people use the same structured form to ask about the same kind of thing.
Their inputs will be more similar, so the AI's outputs should be more similar, too. Less random variation.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, both for the user and the AI.
Plus, it feels like you have more control as a user, doesn't it? You're actively selecting options, not just hoping the AI gets your meaning.
You do. You're explicitly defining the parameters. And this ties in really nicely with other prompt engineering techniques, too.
Oh, how so?
Well, things like system prompts, where you tell the AI its role, like, you are a helpful assistant.
Right.
And user instruction prompts that give task details. When you combine those behind-the-scenes prompts with a good, structured, user-facing UI...
You're giving the AI clear signals from multiple angles.
Exactly. It layers the guidance, leading to potentially much smarter, more targeted results.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense conceptually. Where are we actually seeing this play out? What are some real-world examples?
E-commerce search, like we just talked about, is a huge one. Those filters are classic structured UI elements.
Makes sense. What else?
Think about booking systems, scheduling a flight, a hotel, even a doctor's appointment online.
Yeah, you have to select dates, times, destinations, number of people.
Right. The forms guide you to provide all the necessary pieces of information so the system, potentially AI-powered behind the scenes, can process the request accurately. No back and forth needed.
Okay. Any other areas?
Specialized recommendation engines are another good example. If you need, say, specific scientific software, a structured UI might ask about your data type, analysis methods, operating system.
To narrow down the options effectively based on precise needs.
Precisely. Much better than just typing recommend analysis software.
So, looking at the big picture, what are the main advantages here? For users and maybe for the companies using these AI systems?
For users, it's definitely less confusion, less frustration. You get to the information you want faster.
More efficient.
Definitely. And for businesses, it can mean fewer repetitive questions hitting human support staff because the AI handles them better up front.
So, lower workload, potentially faster resolution times.
It's just a generally smoother, better user experience overall. It makes the AI feel more competent and reliable.
Okay, that covers the why and the what. But I know the source material had a really cool practical example using Slack and n8n. Can you walk us through that?
Yes, that was a great demonstration. It showed how you can build something quite effective without, a massive development team.
What was the basic setup?
They created a system within Slack where a user could quickly look up product information stored in a Google Sheet. The magic happens using Slack's UI tools, the block kit builder, and an automation workflow built in n8n, which has AI capabilities integrated.
Okay, so how did someone actually use it in Slack? What did that structured interaction look like?
It used a Slack/command. So instead of just typing a message, the user would type ask product life, and then right after it, the product ID they wanted, like EPO9.
Okay, so the command itself, ask product life, and the specific data EPO9 are clearly separated. That's the structure.
Exactly. It's very direct. You're specifying the action and the target data point.
And what happens when they hit enter?
So Slack sends that command and the product ID off. Usually you'd see a little processing message in Slack just to show it's working. In the background, that command triggers an n8n workflow. This workflow is set up to listen specifically for ask product life commands.
Okay.
It grabs the product ID EPO9 in our example, and then uses its connection to Google Sheets to search for that specific ID in the spreadsheet.
And assuming it finds it.
If it finds a match, it pulls out all the related information for that product from the sheet, things like the name, brand, price, stock level, etc., and then formats it to be sent back to Stack.
What kind of details did they show in the example response?
For EPO9, it returned quite a bit, directly from the Google Sheet columns. The item ID itself, product name, type, brand, material, size, price, stock count, and even its warehouse location.
Wow, okay, so a really comprehensive snapshot pulled directly because the initial command was so specific.
Exactly, no ambiguity.
And you mentioned Slack Block Kit.
Yeah.
How did that fit into the response?
Right, so Slack Block Kit is Slack's framework for building richer message layouts, not just plain text. In the demo, the results were shown clearly, maybe using formatted text blocks.
But it could do more.
Oh yeah. The source mentioned you could easily add interactive elements using BlockKit, like imagine a button in the response saying, build full product page, or check nearby stores.
So the structured interaction doesn't have to end with the first response. You can build further actions right into the message.
Precisely. BlockKit lets you create buttons, dropdowns, date pickers, all sorts of things, making the Slack interface much more dynamic and app-like.
Okay, let's peek under the hood a bit.
Yeah.
What are the main technical pieces needed to make this Slack to Google Sheet thing work?
Sure. First, you need a Slack app. You create this via the Slack API interface.
Right.
Within that app, you configure the /command, ask product life in this case, and tell Slack where to send the command data when it's used.
And where does it send it?
It sends it to a webhook URL provided by the n8n workflow. n8n has a specific webhook node that listens for incoming requests at that unique address.
Got it. And n8n has different URLs for testing versus live.
Yeah, typically you get a test URL while you're building and debugging, and then you activate a production URL when it's ready to go live for real users. You point the Slack command configuration to the production URL.
Okay, so Slack hits the n8n webhook. What does the n8n workflow do then?
First, it parses the incoming data from Slack to extract the crucial piece, the product ID.
Like EPO9.
Exactly. Then in this setup, it used an AI agent. It connected to OpenRouter, which can access various models like GPT-4o Mini, and tasked the AI with searching the linked Google Sheet for that specific ID.
So the AI does the lookup in the spreadsheet. Interesting.
Yeah, it acts as the search mechanism here. Once the AI finds the row and extracts the data, it passes that information to the next node in the n8n workflow.
Which does what?
Often, there's a node maybe called a set node or a function node that formats the data neatly, cleans it up, puts it in the right structure for the Slack message.
Makes sense.
And finally, there's a dedicated Slack node in n8n. You configure this node with your Slack connection details and tell it which channel to post the formatted response back to. In the example, it was a channel called KLib.
What if the product ID wasn't in the Google Sheet? Did they account for that?
They did. Good error handling is key. The n8n workflow included an I node.
How did that work?
It basically checked if the search in the Google Sheet returned any data. If it didn't find the product ID, the IF node directed the workflow down a different path, which used the Slack node to send back a simple message like product not found.
That's important feedback for the user.
Absolutely. And they also mentioned using a code node somewhere in the process.
What was that for?
Primarily for data cleaning. Sometimes text coming from a spreadsheet or other sources might have stray characters like extra quotes or backticks that could mess up the JSON format Slack expects for its messages. The code node can strip those out to prevent errors.
Smart. Okay, and back to the Slack Block Kit Builder tool itself.
Yeah.
What's it like to use?
It's designed to be pretty user-friendly. Think of it like a visual editor for Slack messages. You can drag and drop different components, text sections, buttons, image holders, dividers, input fields, and arrange them to build the layout you want.
So you don't need to be a hardcore coder to design these richer messages.
Not necessarily for the layout part. It gives you a visual preview as you build, and then it generates the corresponding JSON code that Slack understands. It makes creating interactive messages much more accessible.
And you could use it for all sorts of things beyond product lookups.
Oh, definitely. Approval workflows with approve reject buttons, simple polls using dropdowns, displaying images, collecting structured feedback. Lots of possibilities depending on what you need your Slack interaction to do.
So really, the core message here seems to be that focusing on the user interface, even making relatively simple changes, like using a structured command instead of free text, can dramatically improve how well AI works for us.
That's exactly it. It's not just about making things look nice. It's about designing the interaction itself to channel information effectively. Better input leads to better output.
It fundamentally changes the dynamic from hoping the AI guesses right to guiding it towards the right answer.
Precisely. And for anyone out there building AI-powered tools, or even just thinking about how their teams use the AI, considering the UI isn't just an afterthought, it's central to making that AI actually feel intelligent and useful.
This has been super insightful. It really drives home that powerful AI models are only one part of the equation. How we interact with them matters just as much, maybe more sometimes.
Well said.
So, as you mull all this over, here's a question to leave you with. How might thoughtfully designed user interfaces unlock even more sophisticated and reliable interactions with AI in various fields, perhaps in ways we haven't even fully imagined yet, beyond the examples we've explored today?
That's a fantastic question. The potential is huge.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Hopefully this gives you some fresh ideas about bridging the gap between human intention and AI understanding through better design.